But now let me bring in with their expertise, Florida State Attorney Dave Aronberg, trial attorney Rich Schoenstein. Let's start first with that new attorney and your thoughts when you heard that, Rich.
Well, everything you just said is accurate. There's a lot of reasons to switch attorney. She's obviously getting an attorney who's familiar with the case, and in many ways that might be advantageous. He didn't get a great result the first time around, but he is familiar with the case and probably has some advantages there. Michigan kept bringing back Jim Harbaugh. Eventually it worked out. So maybe this will work out for her.
Yeah, we're going to wait and see what happens. What do you think, though, Dave, that it's just interesting that she retained the attorney that did get a conviction in the case against her son, Charlie?
Yeah, but I think that a lot of us who watched it thought it wasn't Dan Rashbaum's fault. I mean, he was stuck with the crap that Charlie gave him, and I don't think he did a bad job. The only question I have, though, maybe Judge Ash, you and Rich can answer my thoughts on this, is she now stuck with this awful phony extortion story that Charlie came up with? Because if she decides to blame Charlie, then there's a conflict because she's using Charlie's counsel. So I think she's starting to pretty much lock herself in to this bogus story that was quickly rejected by Charlie's jury. And that's the only qualm I have with this decision for Donna.
Yeah, that's a really great point. And I, too, thought the attorneys did a good job. I don't think there was any fault on the part of the attorneys and their advocacy in court. But what do you think, Rich? Do you think that that's a potential issue that she's now locked into the same story?
Yeah, well, I don't know that she's locked into the same story because the jury doesn't necessarily probably won't find out that this is the same lawyer or know what Charlie's story was in the prior trial. But it creates some interesting ethical issues that this lawyer who represented Charlie and had attorney-client communications with him now represents Donna, has communications with her. I assume he got both clients to consent to that representation, but it might create some issues going forward for what he can say to his clients.
Yeah, it is going to be, again, those are, and I think, too, what I always want viewers to know is the attorney who accepts a case is responsible for doing a conflict check and ensuring there is no conflict, and they're responsible for reporting it basically on themselves if there is a conflict to say, I can't represent this person. So that's how that all gets started. But let's turn quickly, if we could, gentlemen, to the reality of family law, divorce, custody. It can all get nasty in the courtroom. And I would agree that, yeah, arguably 3 in a marriage may be a problem, but it shouldn't result in the death of one of the litigants seeking custody of children. Dave, let me start with you first.
Absolutely. And it is interesting that Donna looks like the one who was pulling the strings. And we saw this in the previous trial because she was the one who wrote the letters to Wendy to say, essentially, get strong, start taking pictures of the kids at the church, perhaps even wearing Nazi uniforms. We're going to start a new round of this fight that we're going to go around the courts because we're losing in court, and they'll rue the day that they mess with the Adelson. So I think that they've got a really good case against Donna, and the conviction of Charlie makes it that much easier. Plus, now we have her cell phones. We have her recordings of the phone calls that she made to Charlie while Charlie was in jail. So kudos to Jack Campbell, my counterpart up here in Tallahassee, who decided instead of prosecuting them all at once, he's doing it one at a time. And I think that is reaping serious benefits.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it was a brilliant strategy. And, the state did describe Donna as an overbearing matriarch. Let me see if I'm able to just play that quickly before I get your thoughts, Rich, on the state has a pretty good narrative in this case. Let's see if we can listen to that.
Wendy appears to be the weakling of the pack. She needs to be protected. She needs to be helped. She needs to be coddled. She needs to be saved by Donna and the defendant. Donna is the overbearing matriarch who nags everyone to death about whatever it is that's currently on her. I call it the wheel. The wheel's turning all the time, right? And Wendy getting away from Dan Markell and moving to South Florida was number 1 on the wheel. Donna enlists the defendant to go in and fix it, to solve the problem. When Wendy didn't know what was best for her regarding a job opportunity, Donna sent the defendant to fix it. And the evidence has shown that Dan Markell was a major problem for Wendy, and that meant he was a major problem for Donna, who in turn made Dan Markell a major problem for this defendant.
All right, Rich, weigh in on the state's narrative.
I think the narrative is pretty strong, but let me tell you what I would say is the defense. If I was the defense here, I would say that this narrative, the overbearing mother-in-law, this is a stereotype. And it's a kind of sexist stereotype when you think about it. And a lot of people in a lot of marriages complain about the mother-in-law being too intrusive. That doesn't make her a murderer. It's not all that out of the ordinary and doesn't get you from A to B. The prosecution is still going to need more proof.
Great points. And there she is as she was having a seat at one of the hearings. All right.